Rich Dad said if this kind of life excited them, he would be willing to offer them a raise of 25 cents an hour. Their heartbeats raised, and they knew it would mean so much to them, but still, they said no. Seeing their resistance, Rich Dad raised his offer to $1 an hour, then $2. Each time he raised his offer, Robert's heart started exploding, and his brain was pushing him to take the offer. He knew $2 an hour would have made him the richest kid in the world. He couldn't imagine earning that kind of money. He wanted to say yes. He could picture a new bicycle, a new baseball glove, and the adoration of his friends when he flashed some cash. But somehow his mouth stayed shut. Rich Dad was looking at two boys staring back at him, eyes wide open and brains empty. He was testing them, and he knew there was a part of their emotions that wanted to take the deal. He understood that every person has a weak and needy part of their soul that can be bought. And he knew that every individual also had a part of their soul that was resilient and could never be bought. It was only a question of which one was stronger. So he made a final offer of $5 an hour. Suddenly, the boys' expressions changed, and their empty looks changed into calmness. It felt their temptation disappear in the second. They felt the part of their soul that was weak and needy was silenced and taken over by the part that had no price. The Rich Dad said it was good they didn't have a price. Most people did because their lives were controlled by fear and greed. Fear of being without money makes them work hard and earn a paycheck. But once they have that money, greed gets them thinking about all the things they could buy, which makes them need more money, which makes them spend more and work more. It's what the Rich Dad called the rat race. Mike asked if there was another way, and Rich Dad said there was, but not many people knew about it. Mike wanted to know what it was, and Rich Dad said they would learn it while working with him for no pay. Mike asked for a hint, and Rich Dad replied that the first step is to tell the truth. When asked what truth, he replied that it was about how they feel, and they must confess it to themselves, not others. Rich Dad expressed doubt that the people working for him were capable of confessing their truth. Instead, they feel the fear of not having money and respond emotionally rather than logically. They do not confront their fear, and their emotions control their brains. They work to earn money, hoping it will relieve their fear. But it never does. Money governs their emotions and souls, and they refuse to acknowledge this truth. Rich Dad urged them to avoid this trap, stating that being rich does not solve the problem. When asked why, he introduced the other key emotion: desire. It's common for people to desire things that are better, prettier, or more exciting. They often work for money because they think it will make them happy. But the happiness from money is short-lived. Many rich people are actually driven by fear, thinking that money will make them feel secure. However, they end up fearing losing it all, which makes them more anxious than when they were poor. Emotions often control our thinking, and fear can lead us to make decisions that don't solve the real problem. For example, when someone is afraid of not having enough money, they might think getting a job is the only solution. But in reality, a job is only a temporary fix for a long-term problem. It's important to learn how to think for ourselves and not let our emotions control us. Rich Dad said that he saw hope when both of the boys agreed to work for free. And they also took the first step when they resisted their emotions when Rich Dad tempted them with more money. They were learning to think in spite of being emotionally charged. He told them to keep working, and the sooner they forget about needing a paycheck, the easier their adult life would be. He encouraged them to keep using their brain, work for free, and soon their mind would show them ways of making money far beyond what he could ever pay them. They would be able to see things that others couldn't. The moment they saw one opportunity, they would see them for the rest of their lives. The boys did as Rich Dad advised, and pretty soon they saw an opportunity in creating a library where kids could pay an admission fee and read as many comic books as they wanted. They hired Mike's younger sister to be the head librarian. She charged each child 10 cents for admission to the library. It was a bargain for the kids since a comic book cost 10 cents each, and they could read 5 or 6 in 2 hours. Mike and Robert averaged $9.50 per week over a 3-month period. They paid his sister $1 a week and allowed her to read the comics for free. They had to close the library after 3 months because of a fight that took place there, but they had already learned how to make money work for them, even when they weren't physically present. They had learned the first lesson, which was, the rich don't work for money. They were ready to learn more, and Mike's dad was ready to teach them. Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? When people ask Robert where he started getting rich, he gives them the same answer his rich dad gave him. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. For example, accounting is a subject that is boring, confusing, but absolutely crucial to financial success. To make it easy, Rich Dad used pictures and simple language to teach it to the two boys. One of the first things Rich Dad explained to Robert and Mike was the difference between an asset and a liability. He said that if you want to be rich, the only thing you need to do is buy assets. That's all you need to know to get rich. But despite it being so simple, it's something that many people don't understand. When Rich Dad first explained it to Robert and Mike, they thought he was joking because the concept was so simple. How could adults not understand this? Shouldn't everyone be rich? The problem is that most people have been educated differently by bankers, financial planners, and others. So they must unlearn what they think they know. And because of that, they buy liabilities thinking that they are assets. Robert uses simple definitions for assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. This is the cash flow pattern of an asset. The top part of the diagram is an income statement, often called a profit and loss statement. It measures income and expenses, money in and money out. The lower part of the diagram is a balance sheet. It's called that because it's supposed to balance assets against liabilities. Assets add to your income, they put money in your pocket. For example, if you have a house and you rent it out, then it's an asset because it puts money in your pocket every month. And this is the cash flow pattern of a liability. A liability takes money out of your pocket. If you want to be rich, what you need to do is to avoid liabilities and instead buy more assets. Through these simplified diagrams, you can easily tell how each person handles money. Robert says often those in debt think the answer to their problem is to make more money. But not only will more money not always solve their problems, it may compound them. It's why many people who get a sudden windfall through the lottery or an inheritance quickly burn through it. An increase in cash only results in an increase in spending. What is missing for so many people is the financial education. It's why they might still end up successful in their professions,